Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to the, what is today?
21st.
Today is Thursday. I know that part. So we're in November. Let's see. That's good. We're November 21st, 2024 meeting of the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners. Today we're going to begin our meeting with a moment of silence, and then we're going to have the pledge by Commissioner Dan Bessie. So if you're able, would you please stand for a moment of silence? Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Today on our agenda, we're going to make one minor change. We actually had there's an item in the public hearings that several folks have communicated literally in the last 24 hours about, and we want to make sure those people have a chance to be heard because they've been mentioned that they could actually call in and actually speak during our public hearing. From our technological perspective, that's not possible at this moment. So it's possible to call in. It's just that we're going to change our order a little bit to accommodate that. So in terms of agenda order will be minor. We're simply going to we're going to just skip for just a couple of minutes the public hearings and go ahead and do the resolution recognizing November 2024 as Adoption Awareness Month. We're going to do the proclamation recognizing November 17th as World Prematurity Awareness Day. We're going to do those first, approve our minutes. And then we'll do all the public hearings. And the reason we're going to have that delay is that anyone who wishes to call in and actually comment, they can do so now and get in that queue. Because it'll take us probably 3 or 4 minutes to go through those proclamations and do that. And then they would be in the calling queue and would be able to speak. So if you're at home, not here, and wish to participate in the public session portion of the meeting, you can call 336-422-1200, and you'll be placed on hold until the public session begins, which is going to be in about 5 minutes. So if you want to call, go ahead, 336-422-1200, we'll put you on hold. So when we get to, we'll do these brief items first, and then we'll actually get to the public session, and we'll hear the comments on the phone first, and that'll give the phone folks an opportunity. Then we'll go ahead and do the public hearings, and we'll return to if there's any other public comments. Confusing or clear as a bell, I guess, but I think I can walk us through those one at a time. That'll give folks an opportunity to make a call, and we'll see if we can. You actually have to create little call rooms for messages, and we may do, in the future, do things just slightly different to accommodate that.
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
If I may, there's no issue with that for the first 2 public hearings, which are legislative.
Yes.
The third one, the special use permit, that requires in-person participation, so people would not be able to call in on the third one, the Tucker Trace Farms matter.
That's good. Thank you for reminding me of that because it is a special kind of hearing, and it is kind of a testimony where you be sworn in and swear your testimony. So we will be able to distinguish those. If we got a call, we'll be able to say, no, not available. So thanks for that reminder. So we are now ready to have item 4, which is the resolution recognizing November 2024 as Adoption Awareness Month. So, yes. Commissioner Wilson will read that, and Adrienne Turner certainly come up, and any other folks that would like to be a part of that are here, please, you can come right on up and stand behind Commissioner Wilson, and then he will present you with the proclamation when he's finished, and someone can accept it to boot. Great. So come on up.
Whereas Forsyth County recognizes the importance of giving children in foster care permanent, safe, and loving families through adoption. Whereas every child deserves to grow up in a loving, stable family environment. Whereas more than 100,000 children in the United States are in the foster care system and waiting to be adopted. Whereas approximately 220 children in Forsyth County are in foster care, 64 of whom are legally available for adoption, and of that number, 22 are not in adoptive placements awaiting permanent families. Whereas Forsyth County Department of Social Services completed 28 adoptions between June 1, 2023 and May 31, 2024, whereas the Forsyth County Department of Social Services is joined by numerous individuals along with public and private organizations who work diligently to increase public awareness around the needs of children currently in foster care and those leaving the foster care system, as well as the enduring and valuable contribution of all foster parents, relatives, and approved caretakers who meet the needs of these children. And whereas this action, along with similar recognitions in all 50 states, will bring awareness to the need of adoptive families and will offer children the chance to live with stable and loving families and encourage other dedicated individuals to make a powerful difference in the lives of a child through adoption. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners hereby declares November 2024 as Adoption Awareness Month in Forsyth County, North Carolina, and residents of Forsyth County are encouraged to join in raising awareness on behalf of the children in Forsyth County who are waiting for a loving family regardless of race, age, gender, health, emotional, or behavioral condition or past distress. Adopted this the 21st day of November 2024.
I'll second that motion. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And Adrian, if you'd like to speak, you're welcome to. If you'd like to, you do not have to. And if not, you can just take a copy and you can turn around and have a picture. You can turn around and face photographer in the back there. Face Todd. Everybody get in for a picture. There you go. Commissioner Wilson, the copy of that's the proclamation right there to your left. And hand that to her. There you go. You can hand it to her, to Adrian. There you go. No sweat, no problem. Want her to have a copy. All righty. Now we're at item number 5, which is a proclamation recognizing November 17th, 2024 as World Prematurity Awareness Day in Forsyth County, North Carolina. And who's going to do that one today? That would be you. Thank you, Commissioner McDaniel.
Thank you for allowing me to share in the proclamation recognizing November the 17th, 2024 as the World Prematurity Awareness Day in Forsyth County, North Carolina. Whereas families face serious health risks and Novant Health fights for their health by supporting research, leading programs, and providing education and advocacy. And whereas Novant Health is committed to amplifying the voices of pregnant people and families in North Carolina. And whereas Novant Health has worked intensively to improve access to prenatal care for all, increase awareness and the impacts of implicit bias on maternal health care, and raise awareness of the importance of optimal preconception health as a strategy to improve maternal health, reduce preterm birth, infant mortality, and maternal mortality. I'm so sorry, my glasses today. Whereas Novant Health will continue to work in the community to address the maternal and infant health crisis of prematurity, as well as social determinants of health, such as transportation and housing. Whereas the month of November is recognized by Prematurity Awareness Month, and November the 17th is recognized as World Prematurity Day to raise awareness. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners hereby recognizes November the 17th, 2024 as World Premature Awareness Day in Forsyth County, North Carolina, proclaimed this 21st day of November 2024.
I'll second that motion. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. And Luke McDonald, are you here to accept? Luke, no? Let's come on up, that's good. You're not Luke McDonald, so you can be happy if you say a word or whatever, but at the minimum, you get a picture, right?
Sure, yes. Hey, my name is Ann Smith. I'm Director of Women's and Children's at Novant Health Forsyth Medical Center.
Thank you.
I'm also one of the neonatal nurse practitioners. Been practicing in Forsyth County for almost 33 years. I've seen lots and lots of premature babies, and so appreciate your support to really recognize this day. We have over 600 babies who are admitted to our NICU, and out of that 600, 450 are premature.
Wow.
And they're, something that's really important to us, that this support and to raise recognition, because we would really want that number to go down, right? And over the years, we've worked very, very hard with the Forsyth County Public Health Department, the Infant Mortality Coalition, to make many steps to reduce that number. So much appreciate all of your guys' support. And Nicole Brenner is the Senior Director for
And
Women.
Commissioner McDaniel, you can hand them, oh, you've got that, and you guys can get a picture with Todd.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Yes, so appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, we'll go to item 6, which is approval of the minutes for the meeting November 7th, 2024. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Vice Chair Wizenhut, second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Now we'll go to item 7, the public session, where people make public comments. And I'm going to ask our clerk if we have anyone on the phone now.
Mr. Chairman, we don't have any callers on the phone.
So no callers. All right. So now we'll return to the public hearings.
Mr.
And-
Chairman, we
Yes?
do have one public speaker card.
I was going to wait till after the hearings, but if it's only one, let's go. We're here, so let's go ahead and do that.
Marcy West, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Marcy West, 331 Carolina Circle. Thank you, Commissioners. I wanted to come and congratulate Commissioners Linville, Wizenhunt, and Wilson for your win in the election. I appreciate your service in the past and in the future. And to all of the commissioners, in light of that continued service, I would like to speak on behalf of the people that I've talked to, many, many people, who all agreed that it is not really right to have 0 meetings in the evenings, since most of the community is not able to participate in those meetings. So I'd like to urge you, as you move forward and set your agenda for the next year, that you do 1 meeting per month in evening so that people can participate, and particularly around the budgeting process and the community grant process, where people do have a lot that they would like to contribute. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Bye.
Thank you. All righty. Now we'll return to our public hearing portion of the meeting, and we will begin with a public hearing on the zoning petition of the Peters Creek Partners, LLC, from GBS, General Business Special, to RS9, Residential, 9,000 square feet lots, with uses as set forth in the ordinance of zoning docket F1644. And Chris Murphy is at the podium from Planning and Development Services, our director from Planning Services Development, and he's going to give us an overview, and you're in anytime you are ready.
Just try to get this one thing moved out of the way so I can see a little bit better. Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman, Vice Chair, members of the Board of County Commissioners. This is a petition of Peters Creek Partners, LLC, to rezone 2.51 acres of property located on the eastern side of Peters Creek Parkway, across from its intersection with Haversham Park Drive, from GBS to RS9. This is the subject property shown on the countywide Legacy Growth Management Area Plan map. It is located within GMA 3, down close to the border of Davidson County, Forsyth County, along Peters Creek Parkway, North Carolina 150. This is the subject property highlighted in yellow. It is a piece of property that had been rezoned for GBS in the past. That area has not been used for the commercial development that has taken place out there. This piece of property, this portion of the piece of property is actually going to be utilized in a future subdivision that will be coming to the planning board. So they need to rezone this piece of property from GBS to RS9 in order to accommodate that development. Subject property outlined in yellow on the countywide aerial imagery, again, primarily wooded. You'll notice the curvilinear nature of that northeastern edge of the rezoning. That is where there is a transmission tower, and that curved area represents the fall zone for that tower, which is not being rezoned. That area will remain as is, and again, will accommodate that tower area. Subject property shown on the area plan recommendations. This is in the South Suburban Area Plan update. It has a mixture of mixed residential and commercial recommendation. Again, nothing with this rezoning will impact the existing commercial that's out there, and this will accommodate single-family zoning consistent with the zoning of the remainder of that property out there. Again, it would support intensification to multifamily, but they are planning to develop it as single-family. Going to some site photos, this is a view of the subject property and Peters Creek Parkway. This is looking towards the southeast, so this would be on the west side of Peters Creek Parkway looking down towards the Bojangles would be a little bit further down on this image, but you see the zoning sign there in the background there at the trees. This is looking south along Peters Creek Parkway from the subject property. Again, that's that same zoning sign we saw a second ago. Way down there in the background would be the traffic signal at Oliver's Crossing. This is in the subject property. This is looking south. The subject property is to the left of these power lines. Again, this is looking to the south from the subject property, on the subject property. This is a view of the subject property from the intersection of Peters Creek Parkway and Oliver's Crossing Drive, looking towards the northeast. This is the transmission tower, which is a faux pine tree, if you can see where my arrow is, and it is that area close to that tower that is being proposed to be downzoned from GBS to RS9. In summary, this request would allow for the development of housing on an undeveloped parcel in GMA3, which would be difficult to develop for commercial uses due to its size and shape. The rezoned property could be combined with parcels to the east and potentially be developed in a comprehensive manner, again, which there is a subdivision that will be coming through for that. And again, the request is consistent with Legacy 2030's recommendation promoting compatible infill development. This was heard by the Planning Board at their September 12th, 2024 public hearing. There were no speakers in opposition, and following the public hearing, the Planning Board did vote unanimously to recommend approval of this request to the Commissioners. And with that, I'm glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for Chris? All righty, thank you very much. This is a public hearing, and speakers will have up to 15 minutes to speak total in favor of this request, and up to 15 minutes total to speak in opposition. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of the petition? Please come forward and give us your name and address, please.
My name is Craig Dewar. I live at 403 April Bloom Lane, Cary, North Carolina. I'm a consultant representing the property owner. And much like Chris said, the primary reason we're doing this is that that property is not feasible to develop for commercial, and it's much more compatible with the properties to the east that we are proposing to do residential. So appreciate your support. Any questions, feel free to ask.
Any questions? Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the request? I declare the public hearing closed. Do we have a motion?
I will. Motion to approve zoning map amendment F-1644 and statement of consistency with comprehensive plan. I move that the zoning map amendment F-1644 be approved on the basis of the following. the proposed general use zoning map amendment as petitioned by Peters Creek Partners LLC to rezone a 2.51 acre piece of property from GBS, General Business Special Use, to RS9 Residential Single Family, minimum 9,000 square foot lots, is consistent with the recommendation of the Legacy Comprehensive Plan and reasonable or in the public interest because, number one, the subject property consisting of an undeveloped wooded lot located on the east side of Peters Creek Parkway across from the intersection of Hammersdam Park Drive is currently zoned GBS, or GBS, and is adjacent to property zone GBS, RS9 and RM8S. With uses consisting of single-family houses, townhomes, and transmission tower, a restaurant, and undeveloped land. Number two, the proposed RS9 zoning is primarily intended to accommodate relative high-density, single-family detached dwellings in urban areas in growth management areas 2 and 3, where public facilities, including public water and sewer, are available. Number three, the subject property is located in Growth Management Area 3 and is near existing water and sewer mains. And number four, the proposed RS9 zoning is inconsistent with the South Suburban Area Plan Update, which recommends commercial use for this site. But the proposed use is consistent with the Legacy Comprehensive Plan, which supports infill development and is compatible with proximity zoning and surrounding uses.
Good. And do we have a second?
A second.
Second by Commissioner Linville. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. With motion, any opposed? Motion carries 6 to 0. The next item of the agenda is a public hearing on the zoning petition of Charles William Pettit, Evelyn Pettit, and Charles and Dawn Pettit, revocable trust from AG Agriculture to RS20 to RS20 to RS20, with uses as set forth in the ordinance of zoning docket F1645. And Chris Murphy, Planning and Zoning Services Director, will give a brief overview of the request.
Thank you again. Yes, this is a request to rezone 39.85 acres located at the terminus of Furman Drive. The request is to rezone from general use AG to general use RS20. This is a subject property shown on the Legacy Growth Management Area Plan map. It is located within GMA 3. Again, we are close to the Forsyth County, Davidson County line, but this time we are going down Highway 109, Thomasville Road. This is a subject property identified in yellow. Again, it is zoned AG. It is accessed via Furman Drive, which through a couple of turns gets you out to 109 Thomasville Road. It is going through an existing subdivision that was developed probably in the 60s would be my guess. And it is that subdivision is zoned RS20, which again is the request before you for the subject property. This is the subject property outlined in yellow on the countywide aerial imagery. It is a mixture of some woods, also some agricultural property. Looks like it may have been in hay or some other type of agricultural crop over the course of time. Again, outlined in yellow, it does show that connection to Furman and the existing RS20 zoning to in that subdivision and the existing AG zoning for the subject property. This is a subject property identified on the South Suburban Area Plan update approved in the late 2010s. It does recommend single-family residential 0 to 8 units per acre. There is sewer available for this subject property, which would allow for intensification, probably beyond what's being requested, but again, they have requested RS-20 zoning, and so that is what is before you today, so that would be consistent with the recommendation of the area plan of 0 to 8 units per acre. That would be about 2 units per acre. This is looking west into the subject property. I believe this is at the terminus at Furman. This is looking further west into the subject property. Again, it is an agricultural area. I don't think we went much further west than this. This is looking west. There's a piece that does turn towards the north as you go beyond that tree line. This is looking south from the subject property. I believe that is looking at that Furman Drive terminus. You do see the zoning sign there. I did include some pictures just along Highway 109. The testimony we heard at the planning board dealt a lot with the traffic along Highway 109, Thomasville Road. So I did want to, even though it's not part of the subject property, it's going to be hooking on to and eventually getting you out via Southland Avenue out to Highway 109. So I did want to include a few shots there. This is looking south along Highway 109 from Southland Avenue. This is looking north on 109 from Southland Avenue. You do see where Willard Road does take off there to the northeast. This is looking at Southland Avenue from NC 109. So this is looking, standing at or in 109, looking back down Southland Avenue. And this is looking at Furman Drive from Langdon Road. And again, I believe it goes Southland, Langdon, and Furman is how you actually access this subject property. So there is no external access to Highway 109. It does go over these existing subdivision streets maintained by NCDOT. In summary, the proposed request is consistent with the recommendations of Legacy 2030 for promoting compatible infill development in the serviceable land area. Again, keep in mind this area is served via sewer. Proposed rezoning is also consistent with the land use recommendation of the South Suburban Area Plan Update, again, 0 to 8 units per acre. This request would allow for needed additional housing at an appropriate location in GMA 3. This was heard by the Planning Board at their September 12th, 2024 public hearing. There were numerous speakers in opposition. I believe you'll hear from some of those same folks today. Their opposition did center around concerns with traffic, both in the neighborhood and also along NC 109 Thomasville Road, concern about potential crime with the increase in the number of homes. They're feeling that this type of development was incompatible with their development, and I believe they also had some concerns about impact to property values. Following the public hearing, the Planning Board did vote unanimously to recommend approval of this plan to the commissioners. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Questions for Chris before we start the hearing? I have one. If we have no proposed, obviously it's not zoned, there's no plat. If someone were speculating on the number of homes that could be built into that, area, is that even a speculation? I'm sure there's some.
Yeah, the formula
capacity.
is under existing zoning, it's 39.85 acres. The AG zoning allows 1 unit for every 40,000 square feet of lot size. So slightly more than 1 unit per acre. You can get 43 homes under existing zoning. Going from AG to RS20, you would be able to double that because, again, 20,000 square foot lots. So it would go from 43 to 86 would be the number of homes you could have on that 86 acres. On that 39.45 acres. Right. So you would be looking at roughly a 20,000 square foot lot size average is what you would get, but you would be able to double your yield from 43 to 86.
Got it. Other questions?
Chris, I just want to confirm a couple things. So the proposal would have the existing subdivision cul-de-sac and outlet as the only outlet for the proposed new development.
Correct.
And looking at the materials that were included in our detailed packet online, it appears that a letter was sent to property owners in the 500-foot notification radius that included a a plat or, a drawing representation of the proposed subdivision, but in fact, this is a general use request without a site plan.
That is correct.
So the rendering that was shown to folks of a subdivision plan is not binding.
Correct. And I just do want to note that was sent out by the petitioner, not staff.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right,
Because
thank
we
you.
also send a 500-foot notification, but they, as part of their neighborhood outreach, have to do something similar, and they chose to send out a conceptual plan as part of their materials. Ours was just a letter outlining AG to RS-20.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All righty. This is a public hearing, and speakers will have up to 15 minutes total to speak in favor of this request, and up to 15 minutes total to speak in opposition. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of the petition? Go right ahead. Just give us your name and address, and I'll start the timer.
My name is Andy Dreyfus. I'm with Nova Triad Homes here in Winston-Salem, 206 North Spruce Street, Suite 2B. If this property is rezoned, we will be developing it with Dr. Pettit if it's approved to RS-20. We are patio home developers. We have subdivisions stretching from Stokes County, Forsyth County, Guilford County, Alamance County, and Randolph County. So we're pretty experienced at this. And to be candid with you, and you guys are probably aware of this, we're facing a housing shortage here in the Piedmont Triad, and we're also facing a housing affordability issue as well. So we work really hard to find parcels that line up well for subdivisions. This one in particular, there's 5 reasons why we want to develop this with Dr. Pettit. I'll go quickly. First of all, it's proximity to downtown Winston-Salem. It's about 11 minutes. Secondly, it's got very good access to retail at the corner of NC 109 and Gumtree, which is, if you're selling homes to older folks, they want to get close to a Food Lion and a CVS and a Sheetz these days. Transportation connectivity, it's off of NC 109, leads up to Interstate 40. Obviously, it also leads over to Union Cross off of Gumtree. You'll continue to see a lot of activity. So this site sits in the middle of Winston-Salem, Kernersville, and High Point. It's a very attractive location. There's actually views of downtown Winston-Salem from this property. And then lastly, and most importantly, as Chris Murphy mentioned, we have public access to water and sewer, right? So that to be candid, the die was cast on this property a long time ago when the county utility system put in a 36-inch sewer line down South Muddy Creek. So you'll continue to see developers developing along the 2 creek lines in south of I-40 on Fiddler's Creek and South Muddy Creek. Obviously, NC 109, as Chris mentioned, this is not a great intersection with Southland and Furman and Langdon. It was developed, I'm sure, in the 1940s or 1950s. And the challenge we have is we can only control the land that we're developing. My analog for you guys, and since you're county commissioners, is if you think about the transportation corridors coming in and out of Winston-Salem, this is a major one, right? NC 109 leads down to Thomasville, coming out of the southeast section of our county. To the northeast, the similar road is NC 158, Reedsville Road, leading up to Walkertown. It is being 4-laned today, right? So the state has its, and you guys would know how this money is appropriated, transportation and improvement dollars. The money has been chosen to spend in the northeast part of our county for now. I would hope at some point NC 109 is 4-laned, which will help alleviate the issues that you will hear shortly. You know, wherever we develop and build, traffic is the number one concern. As Chris mentioned, this is a low-density request, 2 units per acre, and it sets up nicely for what we are planning to do, assuming we have a positive vote. I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
I have one.
Yes,
I
sir.
assume in terms of other possible accesses besides Furman Drive, to have a second access, for example, that no one has sort of explored that. I mean, it
Well-
obviously would require a right-of-way. It looks like a single property owner with one home on that lot.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
big area, I mean.
Yeah, Mr. Martin, there are 2 two ways in and out of here. There's only one way out to NC 109, which is the real issue with traffic. But in terms of the subdivision itself, it will connect to Furman, and then the county has the right-of-way to Luck Drive, which is, if you look at the plan that we
Bottom of
suggested.
the stub, yeah.
Yes, so there'll be two ways in and out here, which is critical for fire and ambulance and, trash, et cetera, school buses. So there are two ways in and out of the subdivision, which is appropriate. But there's only one way out to NC 109,
Yep.
which is what you'll hear shortly. But we really can't manage that.
All righty. Are there others wishing to speak? Any other questions, Andy?
Had a question. So I presume that the property in question was bought with development for a residential subdivision in mind?
Yeah, we don't own it. Dr. Pettit does. He lives on Thomasville Road, and his daughter lives next to him. And I suspect that was his thinking, that he wanted to have a subdivision behind him someday.
Was there any consideration of arranging for an alternative direct access to Highway 109?
It was contemplated, Commissioner Bessie. The issue here is topography. This is a tough parcel here to get up to 109. There's a lot of, this is probably why the state hasn't widened it. It's a very narrow corridor and it drops off. So to get from this property out to NC 109 would be extremely challenging from a grading and a road building perspective.
Can you point on the map to where that that access, if it were to undertake those challenges,
It's at the bottom
could
of
be?
the L there. Maybe Chris can help me.
This is,
Yeah.
I'm not sure which property Dr. Pettit
He's
owns.
right in here.
These two?
Yeah, that's correct, in there. And you can see the water feature, I think. And so it's a steep grade coming down, and then Thomasville Road sits up. I suspect this is why the state has not chosen to go at this piece of highway. Very expensive, a lot of right-of-way acquisition. Plus, you've got two creeks that need to be crossed between here and down and here and I-40. And that has nothing to do with our subdivision. I'm just as to why I think the state has decided to wait on this road.
All right, thank you.
Other questions?
Right, thank you.
All right, is there anyone else? We have 8 minutes left. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this request? Wait till Chris is finished with his.
I don't know why it's Zoom.
All righty, very good. All righty, is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the request? And if so, we've got our timer, you can come on up and we'll take one at a time, and I'll give you a notice kind of every 5 minutes how much time we have left.
Mine'll be short and sweet like me.
Why don't you grab a microphone and pull it down? And you can tell us who you are and where you live.
I'm Teresa Myers. I'm at 4115 Furman. I'm Furman, Langdon, which I'm right in behind, well, in front of where they're wanting to develop. My concern is our neighborhood is a very family-oriented. It's very peaceful. We do dog walking, kids, play in the street, whatever. And with all that many houses and that many people and that much traffic, it really depresses me. It just makes me feel like I've wasted my money on my home, because to me, this is going to be a Henderson to the whole neighborhood, because we do have a lot of elderly people there that we look after, and like I said, a lot of kids playing and a lot of dog walkers. And it just really concerns me with all the houses, the people, and all the traffic that's going to be brought in with all this. I understand he wants to do something with his land, but, maybe not as many houses, maybe another route, like I said, getting in and out where it don't have to affect our neighborhood. So, and that's my biggest concern. So, and plus we need a barrier if they are going to put houses other than trees. So, I've already put privacy fence to keep the dirt bike noise down, so. But anyway, I appreciate y'all's time, and thank you, and have a good holiday.
And same to you, and thank you for coming. Others who'd like to speak in opposition?
My name is Stephen Carlson. I live at 4250 Thomasville Road. It's the part of the property that I guess is to the right of the entrance of it. And thank you all for your time. 19 and 21 years ago, I bought this property and was approached by some developers. My property is, I guess, a primary second access for this. So I signed a contract before I built the house. Didn't really know much about the community, the traffic. I hadn't even been in the area. I just owned the property and didn't live there the first time. The second time I just moved in. And I believe what I was told, because I wasn't directly involved, I was just an outsider, that it was declined by the county commissioners. I think one time because of traffic and maybe planning board didn't recommend it one time. One time it went through. So obviously I have a very good piece of property that it was looked at very hard years ago by the Rothrocks. And I think they had deemed it as just not doable because of the, where this comes to the development at 109. So with my property, it was declined 20 years ago. The wait time getting out for me in the mornings is around 5 minutes sometimes. I don't know how it is for the Southland or wherever the road is, but it gets very, like a car every couple minutes. They really back up a lot, and it's awful tight through there. The other thing is the sheriff's response time's really slow. The schools seem to be very crowded. I've chosen to homeschool because the schools in the area are pretty overloaded right now in that area, and I understand people want to develop, but not sure the best thing to do is to continue to develop whenever the infrastructure's not very good. So, and at the planning board, it was a lot of people there in opposition. I think we got a community that you got a lot of people in opposition and you got one person for it. And again, I understand Mr. Pettis wants to develop it, but to me, living in the area, it's just pretty challenging to develop that without another access, and it doesn't seem like the community wants to do it. So I hope y'all take that into consideration, and thank you very much for your
Could you
time.
show us where you live on that map?
Do we have a mouse where I can?
Yeah, I don't know why it zoomed in, but let me
So
roll
this
down a
is
little
my
bit
property
more.
right here. I don't know the lot or the block, but it's a 7.439 or 4 acre tract there. And so they wanted to go through the middle of my property. There's a big hill right in the center of my road front, so it allows you to see both sides of 109. Currently, my driveway's a little further down because there's a large embankment, like he was talking about. The topography, it's a big hill, so they cut the road in, and the peak of my property is about 18 foot off the road. Then when you get down to the lower side, they were going to grade that. Of course, when you do a big development, you can afford to do that kind of grading. And so that was, I think, they did maybe a traffic study and some recommendations from DOT. And at the time, that's the approach they had, because traffic in this area and for this site is the challenge. And I don't think they've addressed that very well with just using that development's access. Willard Road is an odd way if you're coming out of the Southlands to the left. It forks off. You got cars that are making almost 150-degree turn back to get to the right to go north to Winston, and then you've got them darting across where the Y comes in when you're going south. And then these people are trying to turn out of Southland, and then you got a few other houses and businesses in it. And the only difference I see in now and then is the traffic has probably increased 50% from 20 years ago. So it's even worse now. And hopefully they'll do something 109. There've been I've gotten a lot of letters, but nothing's happened. So it's very, very, very tough area, kind of dangerous. I believe the guy who owns the down across, he owns a little place that does weddings and stuff, and he has to hire people to direct traffic when he has events late in the afternoon, not prime time, between 7 and 8, or between 4 and 5:30. That's when it's really, really busy.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah, quick. I'll stop it here for the question. Got it.
Just a short question. So you owned the property some years ago when there was a proposal that would have had an access road across your property. Is that correct?
That's correct. They wanted to add my property into what Mr. Pettit owns and develop it all. So mine was the primary entrance and exit for the 39. It may have been a little bit more back then. I feel like it was 50, and maybe that was with them adding mine in the contract. I wasn't real involved, but they wanted to put houses on my property along with the primary access to 109 for the development.
Would that be an option still on the table for sale?
I'm not sure he'd be interested now that I have a house and established. They're glad to call me, but I do like the area. But yeah, they're more than glad to give me a call.
Thank you.
All righty. Timer's back on. We have 8 minutes and a half left. Others that'd like to speak in opposition?
My name is John Tripp. I live at 4005 Langdon Drive. I'm in a right-of-way road at the end of that road, but the property in question is directly behind me. I've lived there since 2008. There has been a tremendous amount of development out Highway 109, the apartment complexes that are down near the Wahlberg Shopping Center that's down there. And I drove across to Willard Road for years to go to Greensboro to work. I'm retired now, but a lot of times now during the daytime, you may have to wait, 15 or more cars coming out of Winston to be able to make a left or a right. So that long hill that he was just talking about that comes from the creek up has a dip in it, and you cannot see the cars coming to this meeting. I just did get out and make a left. There was a car going about 60 miles an hour. The speed limit, I believe technically, is 55 miles an hour on 109, but it normally can't go that fast because of such thick traffic. I've seen one accident there that has stopped the traffic on 109 one evening a few years ago. The danger is Willard Road. It comes in at a very sharp angle, and you have to turn your car actually at a right angle to be able to look down toward Winston on 109 and see if you can pull out of there with everything you've got. It's probably one of the most difficult places to get in and out I've ever seen, and it's even worse now, of course, than it was 16 years ago when I bought my house there. It's a beautiful piece of property. It's covered with deer, coyotes, wild turkeys. It's like a nature preserve. And I don't have any basic problem with the development, but the safety of the ones of us that live on Langdon Drive and on Furman, there is some houses down Southland, but I believe we're putting, without a safety study done by the state or something, can this particular entrance exit to this new neighborhood be accommodated safely? And my personal opinion is it can't. I can't imagine a minimum probably of 300 cars a day or whatever going in and out, where we currently are added to. Langdon has about 35 houses on it. So and it's 18 feet wide. It's hard to pass somebody as it is. This morning, like there were garbage cans out there. The mailboxes are right on the edge of the road. There are no sidewalks. And we've got dog walkers, like she said, and children playing or whatever. It just doesn't look like a feasible thing that's reasonable unless there was another outlet to this neighborhood that's proposed.
Thank you. We have 5 minutes left. Other folks, please come forward.
Afternoon, County Commissioners. Name's Tommy Reed. If you look on the map, I own the property, which would be to your left. There's 112 acres in there. I guess it's considered ag right now, is how it's zoned. My minute or two that I have would not like to talk about traffic and responsibility and development, because I know if I talk about being opposed to development, that 112 acres that my son or grandson will inherit will end up being in front of you as county commissioners sooner or later. So I can't truly sit here and object to development when people need housing. What I would like to reaffirm is the busyness of our traffic situations all over the county, which make issues for people that live on them. I was approached in that Mr. Murphy had brought up in the planning board meeting, which he was very correct about. If I said something was 5 years ago, y'all can probably agree with this, that it ended up being 20 years ago in my thought process. And he reminded me at the time I spoke that the developer that was talking about this property 22 or 23 years ago, 21 years ago, came to me for access this property on the right-hand corner and go all the way to Fox Meadow Lane with a 60-foot right-of-way. And I told him at the time, the real estate agent said, would you be interested in selling it? I said, I'm not interested in it, but for enough money, I probably would consider something like that. And he mentioned the land values that the county had put on that. And I said, well, that would be a great down payment to start us talking the idea. So you gather from my point what I'm talking about. My interest is still safety, just like anybody else. And I know we're at the wrong committee today to talk about transportation. I know where we need to go, and I'm working on that process with Area 9 down off Silas Creek Parkway right now to discuss the plans for transportation in our area. As you know, as county commissioners, the areas on the other side, on the northeast section, and development that's going on along Willard Road and planned for all the way to Sawmill Road, and the added 200 or 300 housing that's going to be there. If you look on your area map behind me, south of our property, there's about 140 acres of Kinnaman land, Kinnaman family that owns it all the way to Davidson County, and then on around joining mine. You know what's going to be you're going to have a request for zoning for housing in that whole area. And I'm really kind of surprised that they didn't discuss that and make one big housing area out of that and add 400 or 500 houses. Again, my issue is safety. And I'm going to go to the NCDOT and consider talking at one of their hearings about where did the plan go when NC 109 was developed from Thomasville and 4-laned to the Meadowlands area, Wahlberg area. Why did it stop? We were told there was no money. And I'd like to see that future expansion help our situation in our neighborhood with traffic. I'd like for y'all to consider that in the area, and I'm asking that you really put some thought to leaving it ag, putting the appropriate housing on it, and look at the elevation that goes down for the creek to the sewer line. In the pictures Mr. Murphy showed, he did not show the full effect of what that elevation really is down to the creek. Take a look at the pictures that are provided for that and just consider it, that land remain ag and put the appropriate housing on it. Thank you.
Thank you. We have just a very brief period of time. Is there anyone else that wanted to say anything? All righty. I declare the public hearing closed. And is there a motion?
I got some questions.
A couple questions?
Chris.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Now, I guess I'll start with Furman Drive. It looks like it extends on around and comes on for a distance beside of this properties in question. Is that accurate description? It's between, it's a bold line there, and then it's a smaller black line on the other side. Looks like two lots adjoins that.
Correct. I'm not sure how those, I'm not sure how those existing homes actually access that.
Well, it shows one home there. It shows one lot, it looks vacant, and then it shows one with a home on it. So it would appear to me that it has access to the drive, Furman Drive.
I'm assuming that's where it gets its access from, but I don't know that definitively.
Okay, and there was conversation about another outlet or access for emergency purposes. The only place that y'all was pointing to something off of Thomas Road, but on my map it don't appear to be that way. When you look at Luck Drive that runs into Langdon Drive, right directly across from that, between two lots, it appears to be what would be enough room for a stub street. I mean, it's very narrow. It's not within a lot. On the map that we have here, it looks like it's almost directly across from where that Luck Drive runs into the other street here.
Correct. If you see where my arrow is on the screen.
It just shows a narrow space there, and I'm just trying to figure out what it is.
Right here, if you see where my arrow is, that I'm
Yes.
assuming is what you're talking about. That would,
Yes.
that is a right of way that exists for Luck Drive. So if the subdivision, again, we're talking general use today, but if a subdivision were to come in and be constructed, they would have to also connect to Luck Drive back out to Langdon. So this right of way right here would also be opened as a public street. Again, that's not what's before us today because it's a general use request. But if they were to come in and develop that, that would have to be provided as another means of ingress and egress into this new subdivision. So they would come off Southland, turn on Langdon, and then from Langdon they would turn into Luck, and Luck within the subdivision would be extended as another public street.
So that would be part of a subdivision plan, even though it's not a site plan. It'd be the plat.
Correct. That's what would, I mean, if this were to be approved, and even if it's not, I mean, if they brought this through just as an AG subdivision and it went through the subdivision process, they would still have to connect Luck Drive. So the rezoning in and of itself does not create that issue. But yes, if it would go, I mean, once they would submit something through the planning board process as a subdivision, that connection would be made.
Okay, it appears to me that down on the ag part, at this creek, and it's a fairly good sized creek, it appears on the map. How much floodplain would you estimate is in the ag property here?
On the subject property?
Yes, on the ag part of it.
A significant amount. I don't have the acreage. I mean, that's not anything.
Is it significant enough that would make a difference in the number of lots?
No, because more than likely, I can't speak for the developer, but they could do what's called a planned residential development and have lots smaller than 20,000 square feet, but cluster them and stay out of that floodplain area. I'm not sure if they would propose doing a standard subdivision or whether they would propose doing a planned residential development that would allow them to cluster their lots and stay out of the floodplain.
Well, under the plan, it's under consideration. Planning wouldn't allow for, under this type of zoning request, planning wouldn't allow lots to be on a floodplain under the I don't want to, I'll let you talk about all of the details, but now the RS, if you went to special use, planned, yeah, you can concentrate more, but under this zoning, the planning would not allow for lots to be into a floodplain, would it?
I have about 3 different things to say. First of all, the best thing you could do with that plan right there is to tear it out of your book and throw it away, because it means nothing, because it's not a special use district rezoning. They've requested general use, and I'm not sure if you have their site plan or whether you're looking at the zoning plan.
The zoning block, if this is what we don't need to see.
I was making sure you weren't looking at the subdivision that was included in the information that the petitioner mailed out, because again, this is not a special use request, it's a general use request.
I understand that. Well, what I'm asking, if we need more information on zoning matters, ask someone to put it in.
If they rezone, if this were to be approved from AG to RS20, under the subdivision regulations in the UDO, you can do what's called just a regular subdivision, show your roads and have every lot in there at 20,000 square feet. And if they did what would be a regular subdivision, the area that's in the floodplain on the map that you're looking at there on AG, they could have portion of that lot be in the floodplain, but the area where they would actually build the house would not be able to be in the floodplain. The other type of subdivision, again, allowed in RS20, allowed in AG, allowed in anything today, is what's called a planned residential development. They don't have to submit it as a special use district rezoning. It's also something that's allowed under a planning board approval. But that would allow, again, 86 lots, 43 as it sits today. So an AG, if this were to get denied, but they still decide to go forward with a subdivision, you could do 43 homes there today, but you could cluster those 43 homes, keeping them out of the floodplain, have lots that are less than 40,000 square feet in size, but the overall density would meet that density requirement of AG zoning, or 1 lot per 40,000 square feet. If this were to be approved today, and they came through and wanted to do a PRD, they could have 86 lots, again, clustering. They wouldn't have to be 20,000 square foot lots. That's how the calculation is done. So you take the total acreage, multiply it by 43,560, which is what 1 acre equals, and then divide that by 20. That gives you 86 total homes that could be out there. They wouldn't have to have a 20,000 square foot lot. They could have a 10,000 square foot lot in a denser area and then preserve that floodplain. It doesn't allow any more units. It just allows you some flexibility in your design. So to answer your question, if you do a standard subdivision, you're never going to get the total yield because you have to stay out of that floodplain. If you do a cluster subdivision, what's known as a PRD, you could probably come closer to meeting your yield, the 43 or the 86.
Okay, I got, I think, just one more that I've asked several times about different zonings, and probably about the last 3 times you've been here, but it's about any of the zonings, and this one is a pretty good case study for one that, and you can explain how the DOT looks at the traffic problems, and I want to let everybody know that I don't claim to know more than Chris does about the zoning. What I know, I've just learned from him as a teacher. So,
I feel sorry for you then.
No, you're a good one. All my teachers were good. I didn't mind all of them, but they were all good, and you are too. So, answer the question, or just go over it again for the public. It's, to me, when we have something that appears to be a real traffic problem, even though that we're not the traffic experts, it seems like to me that the state would have some way that if they wanted to could look at something before zoning is done, and then look at it and after that. I just don't quite understand that, but I do understand that the state can do whatever it is they want to do. I understand that.
To answer your question, generally speaking, the state isn't going to look at a general use request, and that's what this is. You're looking to go from AG to RS20. And since there's no site plan associated with it, again, think of DOT, you're thinking engineers. They're going to look at something from the lens of an engineer. They're going to look at traffic volumes. They're going to look at approaches. They're going to look at your subdivision streets and those kind of things. Looking at a map that says we're going to go from AG to RS20, they don't really know what that means, because as I'm not a traffic expert, they're not zoning experts. So a general use request in and of itself, they're not going to have any reaction to, because there's nothing for them to react to. They need a site plan, they need traffic volumes, they need that kind of stuff, and that's what they would react to. So again, if this is approved today and they bring through an RS20 subdivision in the future, DOT will review that plan. And DOT will review that plan for the connection within this project, i.e. tying into Langdon. They will also more than likely look at the traffic volume at the intersection of Southland. It is Southland, right? Southland and 109, and determine if anything needs to be done there. Similarly, if this isn't rezoned today, but they bring through a subdivision under the existing zoning, under AG, NCDOT will look at it at that point. So they're going to look at it at the time when there is a development proposal to react to. Being a rezoning is not a development proposal. It's just, I want to go from this general use zoning to this general use zoning. They don't have a plan to react to. So their review would be once a plan has been proposed.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Other questions?
Questions? For Mr. Murphy. In essence, as a general use zoning request, there is no specific plan for us to react to or analyze as a matter of fact. What we would be doing would be to double the authorization of the number of homes that could be put on the property in question from 43 to 86.
That's correct.
And at present, the only outlets to a public street are through the existing subdivision.
Correct.
Separate question. I recall from a fairly recent case in the city of Winston-Salem that there was a trigger caused when more than 100 homes were involved. What is that trigger? I mean, in terms of traffic analysis.
There is a requirement, and again, this is not a planning issue, it's a fire code issue, but there is a general statute provision that looks at the total number of homes accessed via one way in, one way out. So that would be, if this were to come in for a subdivision under its current configuration being in the county, the subdivision would be reviewed through county fire. And county fire would take a look at it and make a determination as far as the total number of homes that only have one way in and one way out. And looking at this, all of this development today comes in off of Southland. There's already a number of homes there. There are a number of homes that would be proposed here. So the fire department could look at that and say, okay, you can only do this many homes at this point, or you have to have a second means of ingress and egress. They could require it to be an emergency access. They could look at stubs and say, okay, in the future it's going to interconnect to something else. They have some leeway with that. I can't answer how fire would look at it, but there's certainly the potential that they could say, okay, you can't do but X number of homes unless you find another means of ingress and egress. But I can't definitively say what that trigger is going to be and what county fire would do.
Would county fire be looking at, if they chose to do so. Would they be looking at the question of how many new homes were added, or would they be looking at the question of how many homes overall were involved?
And that's a good question, and I don't have an answer to that because it falls outside of our department. I'm not exactly sure how that trigger works.
I would imagine, I'm just speculating, that the safety piece is on the one in and out. And I think you've got to count whether it's old or new. It doesn't make any difference. They're occupied homes. I mean, they're homes. I'm just using a little logic in that.
Well,
that
again,
you'd have to say.
fully acknowledge, I agree with that logic, but I can't sit here and definitively say that, again, I don't know what the fire code specifically says, but I don't disagree with your logic.
As an attorney, I have to acknowledge that law and logic don't always coincide. I remember from the other case that came to mind, the question was specifically how many homes that was under discussion. The question was specifically whether the new development totaled more than 100 or not. Again, I don't know.
Two other caveats I'll put out with that. Obviously, that's something that's in the statute and is in the building code. And about 5 years ago, that number was 30, and it got moved up to 100. So again, I don't know if that number will change again, but it theoretically could. But logic would say 100 total. The code may say 100 new, and like I said, I just don't know what that would be.
Okay. These are questions that we could theoretically answer if we had time to do that. If, for example, the decision were continued to a later meeting. Yes?
Not by me, but we could get an answer.
We can get an answer, yes.
Yeah, we could certainly reach out to the county fire marshal's office who handles plan review through us and, give them, perhaps don't throw that plan away that's in your packet. But again, we could have them look at that and say, again, if this were approved, how would you look at this in regards to the no more than 100 via a single entrance? And again, that's something that could be done if you so chose.
But the reason I'm asking that is because I don't know if this is still the case in Forsyth County. At one point, if a request were denied, then it was a year before you could come forward with another request for the same. Is that?
It's 1 year before you can come forward with any request. It's 2 years before you can come back with the same request.
Right. So I don't want to be in the position of having to say no because there is an impact on the adjoining neighborhood that under the current detailed, well, not under the current detailed, but under the general use rezoning, we would consider to be unacceptable. I would like to have us have an answer to the questions so that we could determine that before we do a thumbs up or down. And I wondered if a motion to continue this matter to a specific future date for further discussion would be in order.
Well, the hearing is closed, so that would not be repeated. I think you can make that motion. If there's a second, we'll vote on it.
I would move that this be continued to an appropriate date in December.
And I second.
And I think that we have 2 dates in December. We have the 5th, and then we meet again on the
19th.
19th, I would move the 19th.
So the date certain you're suggesting a continuance until the 19th. So we have a motion by Commissioner Bessie and a second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion of that motion?
I have a question. DOT doesn't give advisory opinions, does it?
Probably not on this, no. Again, we don't send them these because, again, it's a general use request and they don't have anything to react to. I probably could reach out to the deputy director of the division or Scott Jones or someone else and get their opinion on it, but it's still one of those things where My recollection of kind of the way DOT works is if you have a number and they review a driveway permit, they're gonna give you what you got to do. They don't generally deal in abstracts. I'll try to get an answer, but I don't know that they're going to say yay or nay on a rezoning. Yeah, we can accommodate this, or no, we can't. I just don't know what they would say.
Thank you.
Well, it seems like from what we've heard, it's a problem now without any additional traffic. So I guess I'm sure they're aware of it. I mean, apparently it's very difficult to get out of Southland Drive onto 109. And if I heard correctly earlier, I think it was Stephen, said that getting out of he lives right on 109, and he may wait 5 or 6 minutes to get out of his single one driveway.
If I could take a point of privilege, I would just call your attention. You don't have to do it now, but at the bottom of page 2, a previous zoning case was referred to several times. The rezoning case was in 2003, and both the planning board and the elected body, the county commissioners, did deny it. It was to go from AG to RS9, so it would have quadrupled the number of homes. I think the calculation I did earlier, it was like 239 or 240 homes. So that was the previous case. It wasn't to go from AG to RS20, it was to RS9. So I did want to mention that. That was a case that is included in your materials, but since it was mentioned, I did want to just call attention to that.
All righty. Any further discussion on the motion on the table? All in favor of a continuance until December the 19th, raise your hand. All right, motion carries unanimously. So we'll be clear what we're going to try to get the information on new versus total is from our county fire marshal and anything else that would come to our attention. Right.
Thank you.
All righty. Turn the page. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing and consideration of a special use permit request by Tucker Trace Farms, LLC, and Elizabeth Tucker for a land clearing and inert debris, LCID, landfill for property located on the north side of Watkins Ford Road between High Point Road and Watkins Landing Drive, zoning docket F1649. The process of approving the issuance of a special use permit is a quasi-judicial hearing, which requires speakers for this item to speak under oath. And the board shall not be limited to consideration of such evidence as would be admissible in a court of law, not limited as in a court of law. Discussion and deliberation among the board shall occur in open session, and the board may question any witness. All evidence must be presented prior to the board rendering a decision. So I think does anybody need to be reacquainted with the request before we begin? I assume, Mr. Attorney, that would be okay to take a look at the map if we need to. I think Chris has a map of the.
I think what we'd like to do is to have everybody sworn in first, because Chris's testimony will need to be under oath.
All right, very good. So in this particular, anybody who would like to speak for or against in this particular request, if you'd come forward, we'll swear you in. So anybody that would like to speak, we'll be able to do that, and just head over this direction to our county clerk, and she's right there. She has a Bible and can actually handle that. So anyone like to speak for or against? And that will include Chris Murphy. There we go.
I do.
Very good. And if you all don't mind sitting on the front row, that'd be better too. That's good. And now we'll begin with Chris giving us an overview of what the request is, and then we'll start the hearing process. Well, the hearing process has started. You're first up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman of the board. Again, good afternoon. This is a petition of Tucker Trace Farms, LLC, and Elizabeth Tucker for a 21-acre 21 acres located on the north side of Watkins Ford Road between High Point Road and Watkins Landing Drive. The request is an elected body special use permit for a landfill, land clearing, and inert debris greater than 2 acres, more commonly known as an LCID. With that, I'm going to briefly turn it over to the county attorney for a procedural explanation.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as you're aware, and as the chairman has just stated, this is a quasi-judicial hearing which must be based upon, your order must be based upon sworn testimony during this hearing. There were no communications outside of the hearing. Testimony must be based on relevant facts, and you will be, there are 4 required findings for the proponent to succeed. And those are as follows: that the use will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located where proposed and developed according to the application and plan as submitted and approved. Second, that the use meets all required conditions and specifications. Third, that the use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property, or that the use is a public necessity. And finally, 4, the location and character of the use, if developed according to the application and plan submitted and approved, will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located and in general conformity with Legacy 2030. Once the proponent has offered evidence of these 4 findings, the burden shifts to opponents to produce specific evidence that at least one of the 4 required findings has not been met. General complaints do not constitute sufficient evidence. Thank you.
Thank you. This is the countywide growth management area plan map. It does show the subject property there south of Kernersville, north of 74-311. It is located within growth management area 3. Subject property highlighted in yellow. Again, it's on the north side of Watkins Ford Road, just to the west of a new subdivision, Watkins Landing, that was built sometime in the last 4 or 5 years. Subject property outlined in yellow on the countywide aerial imagery. There is a previous LCID landfill that was approved by the county commissioners. You do see that shown on the aerial imagery, and they are looking to expand the operation into this area. And again, pulling the main haul road away from it. This road will remain, but the entrance into the LCID is shifting to the west, and the processing area is shifting to the west, and it is located in front of the owner's home, away from the neighborhood. The subject property shown on the Southeast Forsyth County Area Plan Update. It recognizes this as an area appropriate for single-family development. Again, it's currently zoned AG, which allows for single-family development, but it also allows for an LCID if the county commissioners issue a special use permit. This is looking north across Watkins Ford Road at the subject property. You do see the existing LCID operations there. You see an existing screening buffer yard. You see some of the existing materials. And if you look kind of on the right-hand side of the image, you can see a portion of the existing road, the haul road. That's a better look at it. Looking again from the other side of Watkins Ford Road, you do see the existing driveway. That driveway connection to Watkins Ford Road at this location is going to go away, and it's going to shift again further to the west. They will continue to use a portion of this to get into the LCID to dispose of the materials, but the main driveway will not be on Watkins Ford Road where it is currently. It's going to shift several hundred feet to the west. This is looking west on Watkins Ford Road. Subject property is to the right. This is our sign. So that driveway is going to shift further down Watkins Ford Road to the west. This is looking east along Watkins Ford Road. The subject property is on the left. Again, that's the location of the existing haul road. And again, that is going to go away. That connection will. This is looking south from the subject property across Watkins Ford Road. This isn't part of the request, but we did want to show what was on the south side of Watkins Ford. This is looking at the site plan. I did orient the site plan consistent with the way the property is shown in your packet and the vicinity map. This is Watkins Ford Road. If you see where my cursor is, this is the location of the existing Hall Road coming back out to Watkins Ford. This is the subdivision that I mentioned previously had been constructed in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. This is where the petitioner owns a home. This would be the sorting area where they would be able to recycle materials that come into the LCID to keep it out of the fill area. This is the new entrance into the LCID. Again, the ability to come and dump this way, but also for internal purposes to be able to get and access the existing LCID and the far side of it. They would keep this road, but be able to connect it back to that main driveway. Whenever I put this slide deck together, this image was supposed to be before that image. What I was trying to do was blow it up a little bit more, but apparently I got them in the wrong order. The attorney has mentioned the 4 findings, that must be met, or as the attorney did read, that this would not endanger the public health or safety if located where proposed. As far as staff analysis of that, we do not feel like this would pose a danger to the public health or safety. The proposed use LCID greater than 2 acres is not a threat to the public health or safety. There has been one operating here for the last 5 or 6 years. So again, I think in our opinion, that has been satisfied. That the use meets all required conditions and specifications. We would say yes, all the required conditions and specifications have been met. The plan has been reviewed per the UDO and all requirements are met. We are not qualified experts to make any testimony regarding injury to property values of abutting property, so we will reserve that for other testimony. Under number 4, that the location and character of the use, if developed according to the application and plan submitted and approved, will be in harmony with legacy. Our answer to that is yes, it would be in harmony with legacy because it is a permitted use, and the presumption for something that's allowed by the ordinance through any type of permit, its evidence has to be presented that it would not be in harmony. Ultimately, the recommendation is a land clearing and inert debris landfill, or an LCID greater than 2 acres, requires the issuance of a elected body special use permit following a site plan review by the planning board in the AG district. The planning board determined that the site plan does meet all UDO requirements at their September meeting. And what's before you today is to hold a public hearing, which we are in the midst of, making a determination regarding those 4 findings, and then based on that determination, either issue or deny a special use permit. With that, I stand ready to answer any questions under the public hearing process.
Any questions for Chris?
All right.
All righty. Anyone can go first. And
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
you may want to ask if any of the speakers would like to ask any questions.
Would any of you like to ask Chris a question? Would you like to ask him anything?
I do not, but I do have a clarification.
Oh, go ahead and ask for the clarification. We'll call that a question.
My name's Stacy Smith, 200 Mill Creek Drive, Fuquay Marina, North Carolina. I am a engineer. My firm is Smith Gardner. We specialize in solid waste facilities, and we work on dozens of landfills across North Carolina. I know you put some emphasis on the driveway, and I just want to clarify, perhaps there was some miscommunication earlier, but the existing driveway, we do plan to remain, okay? And so what we did in this process was to add a secondary driveway for access to the process facility and to be able to improve fire access to the site. My firm helped develop this plan and this plan expansion. I also plan to continue in the solid waste permit process. and the watershed permit process with Forsyth County. So we will continue to ensure compliance with both solid waste rules and Forsyth County ordinances. But again, in our discussions with the fire department, the existing access was still good for that portion of the landfill. But then again, we needed some additional access in the growth of it. And that was the purpose of the secondary access road. And I will note that the applicant lives across the street, Tanner Bowles, while Tucker Trace Firms and Elizabeth Tucker live right there beside the landfill. So they really are surrounded by a lot of, their own property and their own development. So where those pictures are being taken was from Tanner's side of the street. So again, I prepared the plan, and again, stand behind it, that we'll meet all the state rules and ordinances. And if you have any other questions, I'm available for that. We also have Eddie Longbottom here to talk about land value if necessary.
So anyone want to ask you any questions? Good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And so both of you, I assume, are going to speak in favor, so please, come forward.
My name is Eddie Longbottom. I'm at 185 Lansdowne, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I own Tri-County Real Estate, and I did an analysis on the homes just to the east of this property. It's called Watkins Landing, and I broke it out. I did a 4-year analysis on the homes sold versus the values, and in the first 3 years of Tanner's business, Watkins sold 37 homes with a sale price against a list price of $331, sale price $333. That's when the market was really good and people were paying more than houses were worth. In the last year, they have sold 27 homes, and the market values now are $411 versus $410. So there has been no droppage in values of home, price per square foot of home. Actually, they've gone up. I also did that same analysis just about another 2,000 feet away from the property is another Brunswick Landing, and it shows the same thing. There are no detriments to the values of the homes.
Any questions? All right.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody, you all do not want to ask him any questions. Just want to be sure. All righty. And would you like to speak? And no one else is sworn in that would like to speak in opposition? All right, so I think I'll pay attention and follow the script here. All righty. Okay, well, I'll declare the public hearing closed. We're finished, thank you. And do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the 4 findings and the special use permit.
And that's the motion by Commissioner, Vice Chair Wizenhut. Is there a second?
Second.
We have 2 seconds by Commissioner Wilson and Commissioner Linville. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Now I want to catch up here. All right, we're ready to begin the meeting now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, Commissioners, staff, and guests. The agenda items before you have been briefed twice and hopefully questions answered. Agenda item number 8 is a resolution approving a revision to the fiscal year 25 Juvenile Crime Prevention Council funding plan and an amendment to the fiscal year 25 budget ordinance to appropriate $25,000 received through the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. This agenda item increases the local match for 3 programs in an amount of $10,100, and the remaining $14,900 will be placed in a budget reserve and reallocated in a future meeting.
Could I ask you one question? What item was sold for the $25,000?
It was items that the children's home, they closed their residential facility, and they had items that they had originally purchased, and per JCPC, those items could go back to other programs. No other programs were interested in those items, and so they wanted to purchase them. And there's a long list of what that was.
And so we feel like the price that was
it was a fair
price.
That is correct.
In that purchase.
Yes, sir.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 9 is an amendment to the fiscal year 25 budget ordinance to appropriate $10,000 received from a 2024 North Carolina Emergency Management Homeland Security Grant Program. This is to purchase 3 Oxcom radios to be used during disasters and/or special events.
Move
Is there a
approval.
motion? Vice Chair Wizenhut, a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Agenda item number 10 is a resolution authorizing execution of an amendment to the interlocal agreement between Forsyth County and the City of Winston-Salem for administration of the Cure Violence Program. Cure Violence is a joint program between the city and county and is funded 50% by each entity. This is a no-cost extension and extends the date to June 30th, 2025. The year 1 evaluation report was emailed to the board as a follow-up to last week's meeting.
I'd be happy to make that motion. Is there a second?
I will second.
Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion?
Just to say thank you very much for the report, and they are doing an exceptional job in the community.
Yeah, it was nice to see it takes a while to develop relationships, and perhaps it appears there's some evidence those relationships are being developed. So I did appreciate the report. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 11 is a resolution reducing ARPA expenditures, claiming ARPA revenue loss, and authorizing a transfer from the Pandemic Response Special Revenue Fund to the general fund from ARPA state and local fiscal recovery funds revenue loss to pay for general government expenditures, and an amendment to the Pandemic Response Special Revenue Fund to shift previously awarded funding to revenue loss and transfer to the general fund, and an amendment to the fiscal year 25 budget ordinance to accept a transfer from the Pandemic Response Special Revenue Fund. This resolution claims $6,800,823 in revenue loss to ensure all ARPA funds granted to the county are fully obligated, and I will provide a full report of all the ARPA projects no later than the December 19th meeting.
Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Motion approved by Vice Chair Wizenhut, second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 12 is a resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with EBSCO Publishing, Inc. to provide library staff and customers access to online database resources. This is a 3-year contract in an amount not to exceed $213,872.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner McDaniel, second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Agenda item number 13 is a resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with Nurse Family Partnership to implement programming for first-time mothers at the Forsyth County Department of Public Health. This is a 3-year contract in an amount not to exceed $142,092.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel,
Second.
second by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 14 is a resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with Daymark Recovery Services, Inc. to provide security services at the Behavioral Health Urgent Care. This uses state ARPA funds and is required to obligate by the end of this year. This agreement is in an amount not to exceed $190,000.
Thank you. And I believe Denise told me that the rebid this, the bid got that. It is a low bid for the security services. Thank you. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel.
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 15 is a resolution ratifying and authorizing execution of an interlocal agreement with the Winston-Salem Transit Authority for the purchase of bus passes to assist eligible recipients of Work First, Adult Services, Family and Children Services, and Medicaid Transportation Services with transportation needs in an amount not to exceed $35,500 for each fiscal year.
Motion approved by Commissioner Bessie.
And second.
Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion? Favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 16 is a resolution authorizing execution of an interlocal agreement between Forsyth County and Winston-Salem Transit Authority for provision of non-emergency medical-related transportation in an amount not to exceed $500 for each fiscal year.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel.
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 17 is a resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with Samet Corporation for the Tanglewood Park Shelter Number 4 playground replacement in an amount not to exceed $502,381, and authorizes the county manager to sign change orders in an amount not to exceed $22,000. There were questions about Samet's MWBE status and relationship with Guilford County, and a memo was sent to the board yesterday.
Move approval.
Approved by Vice Chair Wizenhunt. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion?
Yes, I do have follow-up to the memo that I received, and I want to thank our deputy our deputy county manager for sharing this with us. So just for the record, and I'm trying to blow it up so that I can see it, it reads that in March of 2023, Guilford County voted to end the contract with Samet. Staff reached out to Guilford County officials who stated that Samet Corporation staff acted in a way that was contrary to Guilford County's core values, and the board selected to terminate the contract per the termination for convenience clause, which does not establish the other party is in default. So, Mr. Haney, did Guilford say what that act allegedly was that violated Guilford's core values?
They did not. They, had limited statement and disclosed only that.
Okay. I guess my other question, before I have one more last statement, would be maybe to staff regarding, with this contract, what do we have the sub amounts per MWB? So what is the amount for women versus minorities with this contract?
And Ryan Kearns from our Parks office is coming up with that information. And I do also want to acknowledge that Johnny Seegers from Samet is also here if you have any questions from Samet directly.
Yes, we do have those sub amounts. It was concrete work. That's Bank City Concrete. They're out of Charlotte. That amount was $23,002.47. Asphalt was Yakin Valley Paving out of Winston-Salem. That was $21,000.
Before you move on, I just wanted to make sure that it was based, are these the women or minorities for MW?
Bank City is not women, they are black-owned.
Okay.
Asphalt is women-owned, and demolition is woman-owned.
Okay.
And the demolition, they're out of Greensboro, that's a woman-owned, they're $12,000. The goal that they met was 11.15%.
Yes, thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And I don't know, Chair Martin, if this is the appropriate time, if the person from Samet would like to share with us whatever that inappropriate or what violated the core values.
Hey, how's the board doing?
Good, how are you? Thank you for being here.
No, thank you. I've got one of my, you can come up. Thank you, Commissioner Woodbury, for asking the question. But I brought Lisa Gildrer. She is an MWB partner that we use on multiple our projects to speak a little bit to the program too. But just to kind of talk about the issue, it was a personnel issue, a statement that was made that was kind of different than what the county wanted to hear. Nothing that really I would have put out in the media, but no real issue at this time. Everything's been fine with the county. The issue's been resolved. We moved on, and we're currently working with the county on multiple things now.
So, thank you. So, and I'll cede over to Commissioner McDaniel here in a second. So, I don't want to belabor it, but in the news reported that even Samet was disappointed in the inappropriate remarks based on this situation. And I do understand that if you feel like what was said is too insensitive and you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. But I I need to make sure that I can represent, the citizens of Forsyth County with the best information I have.
Yeah, I would say in a meeting, something was said that was a little inappropriate to what we do and with the county. The person was no longer working with Salmon, and we moved on with the situation.
And let me just clarify this piece of information. You currently have contracts with Guilford County.
We currently built Claxton Elementary School with Guilford County, finished the school on time and under budget, and then worked on a construction estimating summit with Guilford County as well to help the MWBE community.
So when you say Gifford County, the school system is different. Are you saying Gifford County as county government or Gifford County
Yeah,
schools?
county government asked us to hold a construction estimating summit with them as well.
After this situation?
Oh, yeah, and we worked with 20-plus minority firms to teach them estimating and how to accurately hit the number on time.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Good. Did you have another question?
You've answered my question, but I just wanted to say thank you, Johnny, for being here. I have spoken to those colleagues in Guilford County, and they do not have a problem with salmon at all. So thank you again for being here.
Pure personnel issue, been totally resolved. Nothing relationship with the Salmon Guilford County relationship is just fine. We'll continue working as we were.
Yeah. So lastly, my concern again was that, of course, as a representative of the people and making sure that, of course, anytime there is behaviors that are against the core values of the county government, that, we have to be mindful of that as it relates to how we will support businesses that, either are representative and mirror those core values, as I'm sure in Guilford County, some of those values I'm sure are mirrored here in Forsyth County as a progressive county. And so in light of, again, some of the news that I read and just seeing this information, I would be remiss if I didn't say that it still concerns me. I am glad that you all have moved on, and although based on what it appears to be, I may not be, able to support this contract, but I appreciate you coming here to explain.
Yeah, and I would even say there was an individual in the room that was a part of that was an employee with Guilford County, Cynthia Barnes, and I'd encourage you to reach out to her. She'd probably be able to tell you directly.
Okay, I will. Thank you so much.
Johnny, though, while you're here, if you don't mind, Summit does some phenomenal things in the community relative to youth and MWBE. Can you just talk about, just for a few seconds, some of those things that you're doing?
I'll give Lisa a chance to talk some too. So the program D&I has been established at Sammons for nearly 2 decades. Within that program, over $600 million has been awarded to MWBE firms across Triad, across North Carolina. In that is a workforce development program with local high school. So, for example, West Forsyth High School, Glenn High School, Dudley High School out of Greensboro, and Winston-Salem Prep are 4 of the schools that we work with their CTE department to engage construction and engineering and architecture into the careers of those students. They've been actively involved in multiple of the projects that we do. Even some of the current ones here at Tanglewood, West Forsyth students are.
And do they get a stipend for that?
So the students are paid. They're usually done during the even spring break, Christmas, or summer months, and they're paid an hourly rate, sometimes $17 an hour for a high school student to work on site with us. The students are guarded, especially the kid is under 18, so they're with a foreman that is of age to watch the student.
Thank you.
Say something, too?
And so Lisa, again, is one of our trusted partners. But look, I can speak to the MWBE program all day. I've been a part of it for, like I said, almost 20 years. But it is easier for someone that is a sub who has benefited from the program to speak directly to it.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Gilgers. I have a company, Gilgers Construction. I am a licensed general contractor, and I am located at 1208 East Mountain Street in Kernersville. It is an absolute honor and a pleasure to stand before you guys today, and it's even more of an honor to stand here and represent Summit Corporation. I started the business. I'm a mason by trade. You wouldn't think that if you look at by looking at me, but I'm a daddy's girl. And I started the company approximately 9 years ago. I started this company as a one-woman band. It was just me, wearing all the hats. Got my GC license, very excited, jumped head in. Didn't know what I was doing, but I jumped head in because I was excited. When I realized I didn't know what I was doing, I came to the realization of I need to get underneath the wings of someone who knew this game, who's been very successful at it, and who would be willing to take me under their wings. I've worked as a sub for other companies before I decided to start my own company. And Johnny was actually one of the first project engineer at that time on one of the Summit projects that I had the pleasure of being awarded. So at that moment, I decided, hey, I'm going to reach out to them and have them mentor me. I sat in that office with Ken Gruby, one of the exec, and Johnny, and I told them, as a mentor, as a protege, I said to them, I am here to give you 110%, and I expect 110% back. And to this day, I can honestly say to everyone, they have certainly exceeded my expectations. I was never excluded from any meeting. I was not a box that somebody checked because I wasn't going to have that. I was interested in building my company, and they have honestly helped me to do that. I sat in the meetings with the architects, the owners, and I was asked, what do you think, Lisa? At that moment, I was never asked, and my advice, I said, little old me is being asked, what do I think? My opinion mattered. So when I stand here and tell you that Summit they didn't only talk the talk. They honestly walk that walk. And I'm not the only minority contractor that is being greatly helped. A one-woman band like myself, now I have 3 employees that I work with, and they are on projects that I'm currently also with Summit on, not just Summit, but other large GCs. I am no longer a protege. I have, which school was it? Now a full joint venture on the last two Guilford County projects. Summit is not afraid to groom and grow their minority partners. They're not scared that, that they're raising a potential competitor. And I hope to one day, I look forward to one day walk into a room and Summit's walking out of that room that we're competing for the same job, project. That's what they're about. I'm not the only one. There are many other minority subs that they sit down and they take their time to groom and to teach. Every resource that Summit has, I have access to it. When I sat taking weeks to do an estimate, when I got to Summit, they have all these fancy schmancy software, and in the click of a snap, I'm able to do a takeoff in what felt like 5 minutes, when normally I would sit down weeks with my little scale and my blueprint and I'm churning away. So I'm very grateful, and I'm so honored to be able to stand before you and honestly tell you how much Summit Corporation have helped me. They're more like a family to me. I can go and I can sit down in Arthur's office. He's touchable. Norman's touchable. They have conversation with me. When I got into this industry, I didn't think I was important, but they made me feel important. So I just want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen to an old daddy's girl, Mason. Thank you.
I want to thank both of you for being here, and Johnny particularly for your candor on the first part of this, and Lisa, real pleasure to meet you as a Kernersville, obviously successful business.
Yes, it's done extremely well. I mean,
I learn every day.
we don't try not to do a project without Lisa. Now, I would say, Commissioner Woodbury, too, part of that was also within a subcontractor was engaged in the midst of that. And it was a salmon subcontractor. So sometimes the GC can take the blow for something that is not always directly the GC's responsibility. It just happened.
So you're saying that the incident happened with, it was a subcontractor, not,
But they're underneath Samet.
they're underneath Salmon.
Samet would have taken the hit for it.
I do
And
want
that's what you're reading, but I won't get into the personnel issues, just not something
Yeah.
like that.
And I hope you can, and let me just say this, I'm so proud of you, and I look forward to you being I don't want to say the next Samet, but the next, contractor that does great business, not only here in Forsyth, Guilford, wherever in this state and throughout the country. So thank you so much for coming. I think you all know more about the situation than I do, and I'm sure you all were concerned and still possibly concerned that never happens again. I just want to make sure that I am very diligent on behalf of the citizens that I represent what happened so that I can move forward with a vote of confidence, which, until I can get some more information, I just still don't have right now. But thank you so much for coming.
I would encourage you to talk to Cynthia Barnes. Again, she was directly in the room, knows all about it, and represented the owner's side.
Thank you.
And it's worth saying the owner has asked us to be a part of multiple things since that occurred.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Motion carries 6-1. Again, thanks both of you for taking time to be here.
Agenda item number 18 is a resolution awarding a contract to Samet Corporation for the Public Health Air Handling Unit Replacement Project in an amount not to exceed $413,164 and authorizes the county manager to sign change orders in an amount not to exceed $25,000.
I move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel,
Second.
second by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Any discussion?
I would ask again for, did you? Oh, okay, sorry. I would ask again for this one and the next one, could you break down the subcontract amounts for the woman and minority? You can just give a total for women sub and then a total for minority sub.
James Anderson, our design and construction manager, is going to come up.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. For the public health item, Samet had indicated a 21% MWE participation. Total participation was $87,990, and they identified one woman-owned company at $3,000, and then the remainder was labeled as black or minority. Give me one moment to pull up for the Annex 1. For the Annex 1 project, they again had 20% MWE participation. Total participation was $121,105. And it looks like there was, let's see, 6,000. 93. About 93,000 of that went to minority companies, and the remainder being woman-owned companies. So the bulk of it went to a minority company.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Got it. Any other discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed? Motion carries 6-1.
Agenda item number 19 is a resolution awarding a contract to Samad Corporation for the Annex 1 HVAC replacement project in an amount not to exceed $613,326 and authorizes the county manager to execute change orders in an amount not to exceed $25,000.
Is there a motion?
I move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel.
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-1.
Agenda item number 20 is a resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with Siemens Industry, Inc. for the upgrade of digital controls for the Department of Social Services facility in an amount not to exceed $306,500 to replace 15 building automation control panels.
Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Motion approved by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 21 is a resolution awarding a contract for the purchase and installation of electric vehicle chargers and infrastructure at the Government Center and Health and Human Services campus. This resolution awards the contract to Boss Energy LLC in an amount not to exceed $249,474 and authorizes the county manager to execute change orders in an amount not to exceed $25,000.
Motion approved by Commissioner Bessie. Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda items 22 through 25 are our reports. 22 is the August 2024 Human Resources Report. 23 is the September 2024 Human Resources Report. 24 is September 2024 Contribution-Based Benefit Cap Report. And 25 is the 2024 Quarter 1 Financial Report.
Is there a motion to accept reports?
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Linville. Second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. We are finished. Good. Move adjourned. And how close is the briefing session?
Okay. So we actually have one discussion item to begin the briefing, and that is a presentation from President Stephanie Pace Brown of Visit Winston-Salem.
Sorry you've had to wait. Thank you for being here, and sorry you've had a little wait this afternoon.
My pleasure. It's always interesting to hear what's going on in the community, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here with all of you. Just a quick question. Do you have video on your screens? Will they see what I have? Okay.
Yes, you do.
So I just advance with the cookie. All right. Well, good afternoon, Commissioners. I do appreciate the time you've given me to give you a brief update and to share our new advertising campaign with you. Let's see. All right. Visit Winston-Salem exists to attract overnight visitors to the area. The advertising we do shapes the image of Winston-Salem and Forsyth County. And when we do this very well, it enhances the reputation and helps build positive awareness for the community as a place to visit, but also to relocate and move a business and go to college. The public purpose of our work is to create economic vitality through visitor spending. Bringing non-residents into the county enhances the customer base for our local businesses, supports jobs, and generates taxes. We do this through a sales program that attracts meetings, groups, and sports events, and our marketing program that targets leisure visitors to come to our area. In 2023, people who visited Forsyth County spent more than $1 billion with local businesses, and that supported 7,000 jobs and generated $73 million in state and local tax revenue. In total, more than 7 million people visit our county every year, and 3 million of them stay overnight. I'd like to briefly cover the performance of the past fiscal year that ended in June, and then I'll share our new advertising campaign. Our group sales department works to attract meetings, conventions, group tours, and sports events. The outstanding service they provide to groups and signature events enhances the attendee experience and keeps people coming back. Sales is a numbers game, but the numbers depend on building strong relationships with clients and community partners. Our team worked with 173 groups that met or played in Forsyth County in fiscal year '24, and that includes 43 sporting events. We distributed 376 leads to local hotel partners. We booked 185 groups, including conventions, meetings, sports tournaments, and group tours. It's especially gratifying when we get to support meetings that have local hosts. Some recent examples include the North Carolina League of Municipalities City Vision Annual Conference in April that was hosted by the city, the Commission on Accreditation of Law Enforcement that was hosted by the Winston-Salem Police Department, the International Black Theater Festival in July and August, and of course, the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners in August that was so ably hosted by county staff and all of you. In total, our group tour efforts booked 58,500 room nights, and that had an economic impact of over $78 million. Our leisure marketing attracts individuals for getaway visits and boosts attendance at special events. We've been working to increase the impact of our leisure marketing by leaps and bounds. We're not looking for little incremental bits of improvement. Visit winstonsalem.com inspires visitors to plan a visit and discover what our local businesses and organizations have to offer. User sessions to the site tripled last year, getting close to 1 million, and our goal this year is to exceed 2.2 million. A new website was introduced in July of last year, built on better technology. We've enhanced the content and design and dramatically improved the search engine optimization. A new calendar of events was launched this summer in partnership with the Arts Council, the Downtown Partnership, and Greater Winston-Salem, Inc. The calendar lists many hundreds of events and is the most popular section of our website, working very hard to attract visitors, build attendance at events, and provide extensive list of things to do for our citizens. Local businesses and organizations can have a listing and contribute to the calendar of events, and it's all free of charge. Our media relations team works with local partners to host journalists and social media influencers, and those efforts generated 120 million impressions last year, and that's all free publicity for local tourism partners. Our online newsletter now goes to 45,000 subscribers a month, and we have increased the distribution of our printed visitor guide, which I hope you have seen around town. We launched a new brand campaign in September. The campaign replaces Look Forward, Travel Back that was introduced about 5 years ago. Our goal was to evolve the brand and dial up the vibrancy, youthfulness, inclusivity, and representation. We want to represent the rich history and culture of the community and embrace the contemporary vibrancy of what the destination has achieved. In other words, we want our advertising to reflect the full scope of what the destination has to offer and to reflect the diversity of the people who live here. The ads you are seeing today are just the start. We had only 2 days to shoot video and 2 days to shoot photography. So you'll see about 20 locations represented, but that's just the beginning. We will continue to add assets and extend the scope of what travelers will see in our advertising. Today, I'm showing you a campaign that targets leisure visitors from North Carolina, Greenville, Atlanta, Roanoke, and Washington, D.C. There's another series of ads that focus on meetings, sports, and groups. The brand personality we are communicating is easygoing, genuine, and resilient. So the campaign is called Twice as Nice. It's a play on being a city with two names and a complement of our rich cultural roots and the contemporary spirit of innovation and fun. So first you'll see a series of 15-second ads. There are 4 of them, and they will run back to back. And then I'll show you some concepts for some print advertising and digital.
What do you get when you cross Southern Delights and craft brews? A fusion of refined flavors and unforgettable experiences that make every moment special. It's twice as nice in Winston-Salem. Come on in. What do you get when you cross historic elegance and scenic trails? An experience where the echoes of the past guide your steps toward future adventures. It's twice as nice in Winston-Salem. Come on in. What do you get when you cross living history and city play? A journey where history steps out of the past and dances with the urban flair of renewal. It's twice as nice in Winston-Salem. Come on in. What do you get when you cross lavish gardens and colorful creativity? A living canvas where nature's beauty greets bold artistic expression. It's twice as nice in Winston-Salem. Come on in.
So those are the first 4 video spots. And then there are a series of additional concepts that will then be reformatted into digital and other types of advertising. So for instance, what do you get when you cross historic elegance and scenic trails, creative spaces and lakeside adventures, Southern delights and craft brews, lavish gardens and colorful creativity. And so you can see that this Twice as Nice gives us an opportunity to pair many different things so that we can showcase a full scope of opportunities that visitors have to experience when they're here. From special events to sports and music and all kinds of entertainment. These are some iterations from holidays, which are launching very soon. So here you can see what you get when you cross historic elegance and Southern holiday spirit. And then some social extensions for Tanglewood. And then I'll just end with a piece of social media. You know, we're posting social media every day. This is an example of a piece that was created in-house. I'm going to spare you the music that goes with it, but this is showcasing a day in Kernersville. So you can see, you know, the scope of our advertising is representing many, many businesses and organizations in our local community to attract audiences and build a customer base. Are there any questions?
You know, that very first slide where you showed number of, you know, meetings, conferences, and those kind of things, it'd be great, I mean, it's a curiosity in the future to see how that's improving. I mean, see what is happening over time with those growing. Because it does seem like this year we had a whole lot, but I don't know how many we had the year before.
Since we actually booked about the same number of room nights last year as the year before, but we've been having a really great year since July, and we've been hotel revenue has been up more than 10%, and I think we're up 12% July through October so far, and 29% up in short-term rental revenue. So, you know, we believe that we've got really good momentum, and everybody's working hard to increase business to our county.
I like your 15-second spots. They're good. Any other comments for Stephanie?
Go ahead.
Just a question, Stephanie. Thank you for the presentation today. Are you seeing our Eastern County region disaster neighbors coming to Forsyth County, and how are we helping them?
Oh, there have been so many efforts by lots of different entities within the county. For us specifically, we immediately created a web page that we promoted with digital advertising and social media that made special offers through our hotel partners for displaced people. And then our chair, Dana Lou Bryson, who owns the Village Inn and the Brookstown, coordinated a pretty monumental relief effort where we distributed letters to hotels that they could give displaced residents, and they could work with them to fill out a Google form to request any services that we need. And I know Dana worked with probably 30 or 40 different families. Overall, I see probably more displacement going to Greenville and Charlotte than we received here. In the couple of weeks following the storm, we had a pretty good surge, but we also had a number of other things that were happening at the same time. And so, you know, and then of course you've all heard the heroic efforts of people sending supplies and volunteers and all of those things.
I'm hopeful that they will be so fascinated with Forsyth County that they will stay.
Yes, and I think also we're getting some displacement from people who might have visited that region and might have chosen to visit here too. But the increased trend that we saw started many months earlier and thankfully is continuing.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, Stephanie. I enjoy serving on the tourism board to represent the county commissioners. One story that I heard was a couple was here staying in Winston-Salem after the disaster, and they went to Renolda Village, and she said she thought it was better than Biltmore. Yeah.
There you go.
But thank you. I'm so pleased with your work as our new president. Thank you, Stephanie.
And I wanted to conclude with thanking you for your service. It's been a real pleasure to work with you. Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for being here.
Okay. The following are the items for consideration for the December 5th meeting. The first 2 items were public hearings on the zoning petition of Front Street Wahlberg, and those 2 items have been withdrawn by the petitioner, and you should have received an email on that. Agenda item number 3 is a public hearing on the zoning petition of Perimeter Point Properties LLC from AG to LIS, and our planning director, Chris Murphy, will brief this item.
Way too many PowerPoints on here today to try to find them all. All right. Thank you. Good afternoon. This is a request of Perimeter Point Properties LLC to rezone 13.9 acres of property located at the southwest intersection of Rural Hall, Germantown Road and McGee Road. The request is a special use district rezoning from AG to LIS, Limited Industrial Special Use. This is the subject property shown on the Legacy Growth Management Area Plan. It is located within GMA 5, and it is to the northeast of Rural Hall, fairly close to the Stokes County line. Subject property outline, or excuse me, highlighted in yellow there again at the corner of McGee and Rural Hall, Germantown Road, south of the still existing railroad right-of-way, but I don't believe there are any tracks there anymore, but it was and is railroad right-of-way. Subject property shown on the countywide aerial imagery outlined in yellow. Significant amount of woods remaining around the perimeter. You can see where the property was cleared. I believe the petitioner acquired this from NCDOT. I think that's right. And then I can't remember how many county commissioners had gotten a complaint about this last fall, but I did hear from several of you, and then also heard from some folks kind of wanting to know what was going on out here. And the petitioner had begun using the site prior to getting it rezoned, obviously, because it hasn't been rezoned yet. But they were an existing business on North Patterson and had the opportunity to buy this piece of property and decided to relocate here, sell their other property, but did not go through the rezoning process. So that's how it came to our attention. They are looking to rectify that. So anyway, the property had been cleared. There's actually, you'll see from the photos, some stone base already out there, and they are actually using the site. So they're trying to clear up that zoning violation by getting the piece of property rezoned. This is the subject property shown on the Rural Hall Area Plan update. It does recommend large lot residential in this area. There is no sewer available. So again, that's basically just status quo going forward, residential recommendation of the plan. This is looking north along McGee Road. The subject property is to the left of this image. You do see the zoning sign there. This is looking west at the access point from McGee Road. This is looking into the site. You can see the stone base that was put down. Again, the company is a company that does a lot of work with NCDOT and their contractors and subcontractors. They do specialize in barricades, signage, barrel installation, those kind of things for road projects. This is looking south into the subject property. You see one of the storage buildings they have there. I can't tell exactly what that is from the image, but that is some of the materials that they do use on the DOT projects to put up barricades and barrels and those kind of things. Again, looking further west into the subject property. This is their site plan. Again, we looked at the driveway. You saw the cleared area from the image. The area that was cleared in that image basically has gravel down now. It's a storage yard. That's where they would store the materials that they do take out, the signage, the barrels, the barricades, those kind of things. Significant amount of wooded area remaining on the site around the perimeter. In looking at this request, the proposed use is anticipated to generate minimal traffic, but the traffic generated would involve heavier vehicles, which could have an adverse impact on adjoining properties. You're looking at trucks and trailers and those kind of things, bringing the barricades and barrels and other materials in and out. Also looking at this, the request may encourage the spread of inappropriate industrial encroachment into GMA 5. Again, keep in mind that's the growth management area it is located in. The request is inconsistent with recommendations of both Legacy 2030 and the adopted area plan. Legacy 2030 and the adopted area, the Legacy 2030 does not encourage development and growth and intensification within GMA 5, and you saw what the recommendation of the area plan was. Looking at the site, though, however, the site design and the buffering that would be in place should eliminate most of the off-site impacts from the request, especially visual and any noise. This was heard by the Planning Board at their October 2024 public hearing. There were no speakers in opposition. Following the public hearing, the Planning Board discussed the item. Through this discussion, the petitioner volunteered to remove the use manufacturing A from their list of requested uses, so they would keep their service requests as well as the other few uses that they asked for that are located in the staff report, but they did agree to remove the use manufacturing A, and the type of use that they're doing out there does not require manufacturing A. So following that change, the Planning Board did vote unanimously to recommend approval of this request to the Planning Board, to the County Commissioners, and with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for Chris? All right, got it. Thank you.
Agenda item number 4 is Mr. Murphy's as well. It's a zoning petition of Wake Forest University Health Sciences from IPS to IPS, Academic and Biomedical Research Facility and Utilities.
All right. As the county manager did note, this is a request to rezone 6.72 acres located on the west side of Welfare Road, south of Log Cabin Road, from IPS to IPS. So this is a site plan amendment. We've kind of been nibbling a lot of the edges of the county today. This is another request that not only is near the county line, actually straddles the county line with Davidson County. This is located you go down Friedberg and then make a turn onto Welfare, and then, as I noted, just south of Log Cabin Road. It is located within current growth management area 4, which is the future growth area, but this, what's known as the Clarkson campus of Wake Forest Health, has been there for a number of years, and this is a site plan amendment to that campus. You notice the subject property highlighted in yellow. Again, on the county line, a portion of the site, as you'll see in a second, is actually within Davidson County, but we're not highlighting that portion since that portion of the site did go to Davidson County for their approval. Again, existing IPS currently vacant. There was no activity shown on that area with the original IPS, but you do see the remainder of the Clarkson campus where they do biomedical research. Subject property on the countywide aerial imagery, again, highlighted in yellow. This area is, I believe, currently wooded, but again, on the existing campus. The existing campus shown on the Southwest Suburban Area Plan update. Notice it is indicated as blue as an institutional use, which fits with the zoning that's in place and the request of the site plan amendment. This is looking east at the intersection of Welfare Road and Friedberg Church Road. So this is on Welfare, looking at the curve of Friedberg. The subject property is about 3,000 feet to the west, behind the perspective of the photographer. This is looking southwest at the intersection of Welfare Road and Friedberg Church Road. The subject property is 3,000 feet west, down the road to the right. This is looking west from the intersection of Welfare Road and Freeburg Church Road. Again, the subject property is 3,000 feet west. We're concentrating a lot on this because we had heard some complaints early on about not the use down there, but the fact of the way Freeburg and Welfare kind of operate. Freeburg has a curve in it and Welfare goes straight off of it. And concerns about a lot of traffic just zooming down that road. And I believe that the folks that live on Welfare had reached out to Wake Forest to try to encourage them to work with NCDOT to do some traffic calming. So that's why there's several pictures here. We were anticipating those folks perhaps coming out for the public hearing before the planning board, but they did not. So again, want to be prepared if they happen to come to your meeting. This is actually looking at the Clarkson campus, looking west from Welfare Road at the property's existing access point. Subject property is to the right. There's an existing little kind of welcome area building there, and then back behind that, I believe this building may be torn down as part of this request, and back behind that would be the majority of the subject property, or kind of behind that building. Looking northwest from the property's existing access point on Welfare Road into the subject property, the site's approximate location is shown in the background. This is the site plan. Again, where we were standing at, looking into the Clarkson campus. This is that access road off of Welfare Road. This is where we were looking. I'm sorry, that building is going to remain. The access point that would actually go to serve this building is also off of Welfare Road. This is the county line, which is the southernmost portion here of the heavy dashed line. You see a portion of the site, the access, a portion of the building, a portion of the parking lot would be located within Davidson County. Again, has been through their approval process and now comes before you for the portion that is within Forsyth County. In summary, the request represents an internally oriented expansion of a previously established high-tech medical research center. The request is consistent with the recommendations of both Legacy 2030 and the Southwest Suburban Area Plan Update. This was heard at the October meeting of the Planning Board. There were no speakers in opposition, and following the public hearing, the Planning Board did vote unanimously to recommend approval of this request to the Commissioners. And with that, I stand ready to answer any questions.
So how many people will work in that facility, we know?
I do not know. That's something that you can ask the petitioners whenever they're here. They will be obviously at the public hearing in a couple of weeks. I'm not exactly sure. It might be on the plan as far as what the number of employees are, but the parking is based on the square footage.
Yeah, that plan, can you go back one slide? It's harder. Of course, it'll be better and blow it up some, but how many parking spaces are there? I guess
I can get that
well, actually,
answer.
it's on both sides. It looks like it's probably about 50. 45 or 50.
I can get that answer. I can't do it standing here on the fly because I can't read it either, but I can get you an answer, and I'll be prepared to answer that at your next briefing, which I believe will be on a Monday following Thanksgiving.
Right.
I will say, and again, this is biomedical research. It does fit. It's my understanding, and I believe that the petitioner can speak to this whenever they're here for the public hearing. This is where the regional medical examiner's office is going to be.
Ah, okay.
That's what, I mean, again, it could be anything.
Right.
It's not tied to that, but that is their plan. This is where the medical examiner's office is going to go.
Got it. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Agenda item number 5 will actually be moved to a January meeting due to a schedule conflict of the sorority president, so we'll bring that item back. Agenda item number 6 is approval of minutes for today's meeting, and that'll be emailed before the next meeting. Agenda item number 7 is an amendment to the 2016 Schools Capital Project Ordinance for the new Ashley Elementary School. It's going to appropriate $700,000 for their design contract, and we'll fully brief these items during our December 2nd briefing. Agenda item number 8 is an amendment to the 2022 Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools Capital Maintenance 2/3 Bonds Capital Projects Ordinance and transfer of funds for maintenance needs. Agenda item number 9 is an amendment to the fiscal year 25 budget ordinance to appropriate economic development incentive funding awarded by the state of North Carolina. Agenda item number 10 is an amendment to the fiscal year 25 budget ordinance to increase revenues and appropriations for the Forsyth County Department of Public Health from the Community Nutrition Services, Women, Infants, and Children section of the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. And then we have several contracts. Agenda item number 11 is a resolution authorizing execution of a revenue agreement with Wake Forest University Health Sciences for the provision of food nutrition program outreach services for the Department of Social Services and an associated budget ordinance to appropriate those revenues. Agenda item number 12 is a resolution authorizing execution of a revenue agreement with Partners Health Management for the provision of non-clinical support of Family and Children's Division youth housed internally and associated budget ordinance. Agenda item number 13 is a resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with Orchard Software Corporation to provide laboratory information software for the Department of Public Health. Agenda item number 14 is a resolution authorizing execution of a hardware and software support, maintenance, and subscription agreement with Presidio Network Solutions, LLC, to maintain Forsyth County's essential data protection solution. Agenda item number 15 is a resolution awarding a contract for the purchase and installation of furniture for the Highland Avenue Center project. Agenda item number 16 is a resolution awarding and authorizing execution of a contract for the installation of an access control system for the Highland Avenue Center project. Agenda item number 17 is a resolution awarding and authorizing execution of a contract for the purchase of equipment to upfit Ford Interceptor police pursuit vehicles. Agenda item number 18 is a resolution authorizing procurement of air pollution monitoring equipment from Teledyne API under an exception to the bidding laws codified in the Forsyth County Federal Procurement Policy. Agenda item number 19 is a resolution authorizing amendments to the agreements for transportation assistance for elderly and disabled residents. And then we have our tax administration items. 20 through 23 are refunds by the tax assessor and collector. And then we have all of our reports. And that is all the items we will brief. And the second briefing will be on Monday, December 2nd at 2 p.m. We do not have a meeting next week due to Thanksgiving. So again, the second briefing, which is also our organization meeting, will be Monday, December 2nd at 2 p.m.
All right. I say we're adjourned.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.